I hope you enjoyed making the first part of our Way in the Manger Art Project. Today we are going to read the second part of that story I was telling you last time from the Jesus Storybook Bible, and then we will finish our Way in the Manger painting / crayon resist art. So I hope you really enjoy today's project, and thank you so much for creating with me.
During the last episode, we learned the angel Gabriel came to visit Mary and told her that she would have a baby and that she would name it Jesus. Well, sure enough, it was just as the angel had said. 9 months later, Mary was almost ready to have her baby. Now Mary and Joseph, her fiancé, had to take a trip to Bethlehem, the town King David was from. But when they reached the little town, they found every room was full, and every bed was taken. "Go away," the innkeeper told them. "There isn't any place for you." Where would they stay? Soon Mary's baby would come. They couldn't find anywhere except an old, tumble-down stable, so they stayed where the cows and the donkeys and the horses stayed. And there, in the stable, amongst the chickens and the donkeys and the cows, in the quiet of the night, God gave the world His wonderful gift. The baby that would change the world was born, His baby son. Mary and Joseph wrapped Him up to keep Him warm. They made a soft bed of straw and used the animal's feeding trough as His cradle. And they gazed in wonder at God's great gift, wrapped in swaddling clothes and laying in a manger. Mary and Joseph named Him Jesus, Emmanuel, which means God has come to live with us, because of course He had. So now it's time to finish our art project, A Way in the Manger Art Project. This is the second part. If you missed out on completing this first part with us, just click in the upper corner of our screen right now and you can go to that video. For today's project, you will need painting from the last episode, crayons, and watercolor paint. The first thing we will do is rub our painting to get the salt off of it. If you remember, last time we put salt on it and it has created all these little starry specks all over our painting. But now we have to remove the salt. We don't want to keep it on there. It was just so that the paint would dry at a different rate than other spots that didn't have salt. So just rub your painting and that salt should come right off, and then you just swipe it away, and probably your parent would appreciate if you did not get it on the floor or wherever you're doing this, whether it's in your classroom or it's at home. You definitely do not want to put that salt all over the floor, so just scoop it up into a little pile and put it in your hand. The next thing we will do is we will grab our black crayon and we're just going to go over where Joseph's eye is and then also where Mary's eye is. The eyes are supposed to look like they're closed or looking down or in prayer, so we just go over those pencil marks. Next, I'm going to grab my blue crayon and I'm going to outline Mary just because that's going to help us keep our paint where we want it, and it also gives it just a nice finished look in the end. So I just outline all of the lines that are involved in Mary's clothes, and I want to do that real nice and neat so that it looks really nice in the end. Once you're finished outlining Mary, then you can grab your green crayon and you can outline Joseph. Well, you can choose what color you want Mary and Joseph in. I chose blue and green because it seems like a lot of art has Mary and Joseph in blue and green. So if I see them in any other colors, it almost seems strange. But this is your artwork after all. So just outline these figures in the color that you are going to paint their clothes. And if you're nervous about creating a skin color paint, then you can use a crayon if you have one that you feel fits their skin color. You can use a crayon to go over where their skin color would be. I will create a paint later, but I'm just showing you how it would look if you take your crayon and go over Mary's face and hands and Joseph's face and hands. Next, I'm going to grab my brown crayon, and I'm going to make the little manger that Jesus is laying in, which is the feeding trough. That's what the feeding trough is called, is a manger. I'm going to go over that with adding some lines and trying to make it look a little bit more like wood. So first I add lines going horizontally across that manger. And now I'm just adding some lines that are a little bit squiggly on the wood boards to make it look like a wood grain. And the last thing that I'm going to do with my crayons is grab my white and add a few little lines to that swaddling clothed Jesus right there, that little lump above the manger. And just to make it look more like swaddling clothes, I add a few lines there. And now it is time to paint. So grab some water and a paintbrush and whatever color you want Mary to be in. I outlined her in blue, so I'm going to paint her clothes blue. If you chose a different color, that is perfectly fine. And so I'm just going to add some water to my blue and then start painting with the blue. Remember, with watercolor paint, in order to get it to work, you have to add a few drops of water first before you can start painting. And then you'll probably have to add a little bit of water here and there as you keep using it throughout your painting. Now that we are finished with Mary, we can move on to Joseph. I chose green for Joseph, so I'm going to put some water in my green and then paint Joseph's robe. After Joseph's robe, then I'm going to use brown on the manger, and I'm just going to paint that area that's between Mary and Joseph that we have set up as the manger. For Jesus' swaddling clothes, I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and just lightly put it on the swaddling clothes area. I don't want it too dark. I just am looking to add a little bit of color to that area. And now I'm going to make some brown light by putting it over in the side and adding water to it. So with watercolor paint, to lighten colors, you just add a good bit of water to it. My brown was a little bit dark when I touched Mary's face, so I want to spread it out a little bit more. They would have had probably more of like an olive skin tone, like a little bit of a tanned skin tone. So that is what I'm trying to recreate with my light brown here. And again, you just create light brown by adding water to regular brown. To finish up Mary and Joseph, I just need to add some hair. So I'm going to add a little bit of hair to Joseph and his beard with a dark brown. So just like with the light brown, you added lots of water to make it lighter. With dark brown, you're using brown and just not adding as much water to keep it dark. And then I also want to add a little bit just at the edge of Mary's head dressing there. And the last thing I'm going to do is completely optional. I did not like how light my paint dried behind "Away in a Manger" because I really want the words "Away in a Manger" to pop. So I'm just going to take some of that purple and some of that blue that I used last time for my "Away in the Manger" and a little bit of black and just dab it right where my words are to really make those emphasize. And I kind of like how it looks in the end, that I don't redo everything and make it a lot darker. I just like the darkness right behind the "Away in a Manger." But you don't have to do that. It's completely optional. It's just something that I decided to do. I have one very last thing that I wanted to take care of. Some of the hair dripped onto Joseph's face. If that happens to you, wait till it dries and then use some clean water and a brush to get it off. And when you use the clean water on the brush, put the clean water on the brush and then dab off most of it so that the brush is just damp. And then you can just rub it where the paint kind of spilled a little bit, and it should take most of it off, and that way it'll look a lot better for you. Well, I hope you enjoyed creating this "Away in a Manger" art project. And remember, the real, true meaning of Christmas lies not under a tree, but in a manger.